Hey guys, my name is Shani and welcome back to my space. So at the start of the year I said that I wanted to do one of these videos every month. And if you look at my channel you may notice that I didn't upload one in February or March. And there's a good reason for that. The book that I started at the end of January, I didn't finish until mid-March. So I wanted to kind of combine what did I read in February and what did I read in March, because I did end up reading more than one book over the 2 months, which was great. And I kind of wanted to sit down today and show you what I read. So let's get into it. So the first book that I want to talk about is the one that took me a month and a half to finish, and that is June. I did not expect this to be such a difficult read. When you first start this book, you're kind of starting in the middle of a storyline. Like, there are character names and it feels like you're beginning halfway through a chapter. And it does take a bit to get into the storyline and the plot line and kind of understand what's happening. It did take me a little while to get used to the terminology and just kind of what the author was trying to say. But once I got the hang of that, I started reading more and more and more, and eventually I just started getting through it really quickly. Another point about this book that I kind of wish that I had known earlier is it has its own language. So it is written, well, this copy is written in English, but there are words in here that the author, I believe, has made up himself. And there's a little index at the back of the book where you can look up certain terms and things that the author talks about. You can look it up in the back of the book. It's very complex in terms of the law, the ideas that he's writing about. There's a lot of ideas based around existence and the mind and mindset, and it's really interesting to read about the author's takes on these things. I really enjoyed this book. I thought it was great. It did take me a little bit to get into, but I love it. It turns out I didn't Google how many books are in this series. There are 25, but there are only 6 of those that are written by this main author. Some of them, I believe, are written by his son, and then the others are written by a separate author. So if you do go into this series, just remember that there are a few books to go into, but I highly recommend it. It is a really deep and really interesting storyline, and I really recommend this book. I kind of want to give it a 10 out of 10. Just from my perspective, I think it's really deep and intricate. I really like the way that the author writes and his ideas about certain things. It kind of felt a bit like philosophy, but also the storyline, and I just really like it. So I think a 10 out of 10. So after I finished June at the start of March, I started reading this book that I bought a few months ago, and I didn't know anything about this book. I just read the back of it and I bought it straight away because I was like, I love the idea of what the author has created, and I really want to dig deeper into it. This book is called The Midnight Library. So this book, this took me 3 days to read. It was a pretty easy read. After reading June, I pretty much sped through this really quickly, and it's really interesting. I didn't realize that this book was going to be touching on some sensitive mental health topics. So if you do choose to read this book, I think it's really good, but just be aware that it can be a bit triggering at times depending on what triggers you, if anything does. But in terms of the storyline itself, it is about a girl who is sitting between life and death, and before she dies, she gets this opportunity to go to this library, and the library basically is full of books that tell the story of what would have happened in her life if she had made a different decision, like if she had gone with a different career path, if she had married someone else, and just all of these different things. And I really liked this book. It got heavy at some points, but I really liked the different aspects of the person's life and just seeing how limitless she could be, and also how much stronger she was than she believed that she was, if that even makes sense. But I really like this book. I think I would give it, I'm gonna say an 8 out of 10. I liked it. I think it was good, but I don't know. I don't know what I would improve, but I'd give it an 8. So after the Midnight Library, I read this book called Honjok. That's what that looks like. It's a cute little book. So this might be more of a coffee table book, I'm not sure, but it is about this South Korean method called Honjok, and basically the idea of it is finding happiness and being fulfilled in being alone and being by yourself. So instead of feeling sad and lonely, it's about finding meaning and purpose in solitude. And as someone who has been spending more time by myself and looking to find more purpose in my life, I really wanted to read about this and kind of just see what other people in the world were doing and how they were finding meaning in life, especially not being surrounded by other people. And I thought this was a really good book. I got a lot out of it. And it also shows you kind of a different perspective on life and how other people live their lives. And I really enjoyed it, honestly. I didn't expect to enjoy it as much as I did, but I really liked it. I'd probably give it a 7 out of 10. I think I would like to have read more stories about people who live this kind of lifestyle and what they do in their lives compared to others, just to get different perspectives. I think that would have been great. But overall, this is a really good book. I liked it. The final book that I read in March 2022 was one that has been on my shelf for a very long time, and I kind of put it off because I was intimidated because it was a classic. And I think a lot of people get that way with classics. You open it up and you kind of look at how it is written, and it's not as easy to read as some other books. And one day after I'd finished Honjok, I kind of just looked at my shelf and I was like, I want to read a classic and I want to read this one. It's been sitting there for ages and I just want to give it a go. So the last book that I read in March was Wuthering Heights. And this book, oh my god, where do I even start? I can see why it's a classic. I can also see why it's a controversial book. I don't even know where to start. I've only just finished this like a couple of days ago, so my mind is still kind of processing it. But one thing that I can say, and all this is just my opinion, by the way, this is just my take. I don't mean to offend anyone or anything. I know there are a lot of people who are very passionate about classics and books in general, and I don't want to offend anyone. This is just what I think. I honestly think this book was full of emotion. There was so many different emotions and just heightened emotions. It felt like a lot of the characters just really, like, when they felt something, they felt it and they expressed it, and it was very it was very intense a lot of the times that the characters were interacting. Spoilers for this book in case you're wanting to read it. So if you're wanting to read it, maybe just like skip ahead a bit. But if you're cool with spoilers, basically, I don't really understand why Heathcliff and Edgar were so obsessed with Catherine. I struggle to kind of see what they saw in her. I know Heathcliff, they grew up together and everything, and, they were like best friends. I get that, but it seems like a lot of the time Catherine is like very over the top and very aggressive about her emotions and how she wants things to go. Like, I think in one part of the book it sort of says, like, things, she's used to having things go her way, sort of a thing. And I don't know, I didn't really connect with Catherine that much. I thought I would like her a lot more, but I don't know, she just sort of like, I don't know, I struggled with her character a bit. And just understanding why everyone was so intent on her. Honestly, I found Isabella to be more of a relatable character. Also a very empowering character. I really enjoyed reading how she went from being so infatuated with Heathcliff and kind of like creating this idea of what he was in her mind, and then when he turned out to be the opposite, or the villain as Nellie puts him, I like that she stood up to him and she eventually left and went to live out the rest of her life elsewhere, even though she had his kid. I really like how she kind of just stood up for herself, especially in those times. So I really appreciated her character. I think I related a lot more with her and understood her character more than Catherine. I would say that in terms of the reading part, I caught on pretty quickly with this. It wasn't a difficult read for me. I enjoyed it. I kind of got annoyed with how, in lack of a better word, whiny. I think I kind of thought that a lot of the characters were very whiny and they complained a lot and they were very entitled, especially Linton. Linton frustrated me a lot. And I think I kind of didn't want to read with how many of the characters complained and whined a lot and did all of that, but I was really, really hooked on the storyline. The storyline and the plot and just the characters interacting with each other, like, I wanted to read more. So I honestly, I would probably give this a 9 out of 10. The only reason it's not a 10 out of 10 is because some of the characters just annoyed me. Honestly, I tried to like them, but some of them just got on my nerves and it got very frustrating by the end of the book. I'm sorry if you love this book. I'm sorry if I've offended you, but oh my goodness. So those 4 books are what I read over February and March in 2022. I am currently reading my next books, which you guys will see probably around the start of May. So I've read 7 books this year so far, which I am stoked with. Honestly, I don't think I even read half of that last year. I'm really trying to get back into reading more and I'm really enjoying it. So making these videos is really fun for me. It's really nice to sort of revisit what I read and just kind of process it a bit. I think making these videos helps me like dissect it a bit and get my own thoughts and opinions on it, and I really enjoy doing this. So I really hope you guys enjoy these videos. If you do choose to read any of the same books that I read, please let me know. I'd love to see what you think about them. But yeah, I think that's it for me for today. Thank you so much for coming in and watching. I really appreciate it. If you like this video, if you want more book content, please feel free to let me know in the comments. Feel free to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one.